Hello, guys. This is Marlon Chung on Table Talk JA, one of your hosts, and
Janiela Faith.
Janella, the other host. And we have a special guest
Yes,
on, Miss Barbara.
yes, we're back.
Hi,
Good.
everyone.
This is all new, guys. This is our first time doing this way of recording. Miss Barb, you can only hear
Yes.
her voice. You won't see her video. Not this time around, but the next time around, you will get to see who is behind speaking, behind the camera. Okay, go ahead, Janella.
Blessings, everyone. I'm sure you all remember me from the previous table talk. This is Janiela Faith. So we are here again for a table talk. And like Marlon said, we are doing a different style right now. So you'll definitely see us next time. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and start our discussion today. And let's see what we have for the day.
Okay. So you can introduce yourself, Miss Barbara.
Hi, everyone. My name is Barbara Thorpe, and very popular on the YouTube as a subscriber. If you name the person, I'm subscribed, but usually a silent watcher. And there are many things that I see and I can weigh in on, but I do not. But at the opportune time, then I will, weigh in and just give my little 2 cents on some things that I have a little knowledge of. I'm sorry that I'm
All right.
incognito
Right.
tonight,
Thank you.
but
Thank you very much.
come in the future, I'll definitely have my face there or somebody else's face.
No problem.
So, guys, I've been on the phone with Miss Barbara the whole entire day, and I just surprised them. Nobody knew about this table talk for tonight, so it was really a surprise. So Miss
Yes.
Barbara decided she would come on there with us today, so it's a big thing. And our topic today, we're just talking about things in general. We're talking about the younger generation and the older generation from Jamaica. You know what I mean? And we're talking about the positive stuff of what we do here on Table Talk. So we want to introduce everybody about our Table Talk here on Table Talk Jamaica. I'm sorry. This is our new
Yes.
channel. It's Janella Faye and I who are both running this. We're both two hosts, and if I can't come on, we will have a special host that day for us, or if vice versa, for if Miss Janella can't come on as well. So we're talking about
Correct.
just like your younger generation of Jamaica and how we can influence them, in a good way to do the right things in Jamaica. And so and Miss Barbara had a lot of things influence, things she was saying to me, and I enjoy, speaking to her now. Invited her on the show as well. So Miss Barbara, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Marlon. I mean, I am no, I won't say I'm a I'm a professional in any of these areas, but just if you have kids and you study kids, and we're all from Jamaica, we have families there, we have friends there, and you visit and you kind of get a feel of how these young people think nowadays. So I mean, they're referred to as the microwave generation, and we all know what that means. It means that they want things instantly. When we were growing up, we didn't have a camera phone. We didn't even have phones. We didn't have access to all the things that they do have access to on social media via, internet and whatever you're not. And it's a lot of pressure for young people, and I, with my 50 something year old brain, I do not want to judge them as a 50 something year old because they are not thinking with my brain. It's a rite of passage. They go through being stupid and young and till they get it together. Some of them do. But it's almost like the pressure is so great that everybody wants to have a nice car and nice brand name clothes. You know the works. We all know how they think. And is it any fault of theirs why they think that way? It's not because their parents didn't raise them right, it is just
Yeah.
societal pressure. And some of them will
Hmm.
achieve it and some of them won't through the normal channel of going to school, working hard, doing the right thing. But let's be real. Jamaican society today does not cater enough for the youth, right? And if we don't do enough for
Hmm.
the youths, they become the problem of tomorrow. And we're pretty much wiping out our future if we allow them to continue along the path that they are on, right? So
Amen.
we
That's
can't take
true.
away their phones.
Yeah.
We can't take away their exposure to all the things that is going on. But what we can do is harness all the talents
Hmm.
that they have. Because I always say this to my friends and co-workers here in America. I said, Jamaicans, then good, bad. And what does that mean? It means that whatever they're good at, they are really good at it. If it's bad, they're good at it. If it's good thing, they're good at it. So why not take all of that
Yeah.
passion? No, it's true. If they're gonna be a scammer, they are the best scammer. If they if they're gonna be an athlete, they're the best athlete. A chef, you name it. It's true. We're passionate people. We put everything into whatever we do, whether it's good or bad, right? So if we could harness all of that talent, all of that
Yes. Yes.
drive,
Yes.
and just channel it and down the right path. So it starts not just with the parents, but you know, the government. The government has, and the private sector also, because
Hmm.
it's not a it's a
Hmm.
societal problem. If the government don't pay attention to it and don't provide, not, and if social, the private sector doesn't play their part, they're going to also be impacted. And I don't have to spell it out. You know what happens when young people are not, they don't follow the right path, right? It becomes a problem to society in general, you and I and everybody
Hmm.
else. So I feel like there are not enough programs, there are not enough,
Hmm.
and even the few programs that they do have, heart and others, heart, what do you call it,
Hmm.
heart institute, you know when these, because I also know people who send their kids there, and young people who've gone there. I assisted one young lady, and she was into the service industry, into the hospitality industry, the hotel. When she was finished, she couldn't find a job. She could not find a job. And I'm like, what about, I think we lost
Hmm.
Janelle. What about, when
It's
they
all right.
go
She'll come back in.
these work experience, why can't they hire them? And I have a friend. There's a hotel that I stay at when I go home sometimes, go to Jamaica, and I have a friend there, and she was the
Hmm.
food. She was in the the food and beverage area. I forgot what the right name is for that. And she said, a lot of the times these kids come, they come for the work experience. We call it something else here. And they, unfortunately,
Hmm.
they're not retaining them, like they just give them let them get the experience, and then they're out there trying to fend for themselves. First of all, when you finish college or you finish any formal
Yes.
education, you don't have any experience in that field, right? You just finishing. So
Yes. Yes.
there need to be some pathways to get these kids after. Whether my son has a friend who's a teacher, she's baking. That's what she does. She can bake, so now she's baking because she can't get a job as a teacher, right? And these kids, if they
Hmm.
go to
Hmm.
higher levels of education, university or teachers college, they have loans. And as soon as they're out of college, it's time to pay back these loans. And so they're forced to then take jobs that it's not
Right.
lucrative enough to pay the loan and then turn around and then make a living from it. So then other things become attractive
Hmm.
to them. And we're not condoning it. We're not encouraging that they should become scammers
Correct.
or do other things. But we have to focus as a society, Jamaica,
Right.
private sector and the government, and even well-thinking individual like yourself,
Yeah.
Marlon, who's playing your part and a lot of your subscribers. Maybe we can adopt a child. Adopt a child don't mean you're bringing them to the United States, but adopt
Hmm.
their education journey.
Yeah.
You know, you can't help everybody, but you can help one, or
Correct.
you can help two.
This is why Janella and I, we spoke. Correct, correct. Janella and I spoke about this, why we decided to really do more of this table talk, JA, our new channel. We're trying to get these younger people that if they wanted to call in and to talk to
Right.
us, to me, we're here to listen to them and see how we could guide them. We do have even some
Exactly.
professionals that we can get to come in and talk to these younger ones, and we want them to be able to feel comfortable. That's why not just generally is their age, not only just young ones, even somebody who is older and just want to talk to somebody. I'm here as well, and we want to use this platform to help many of these people that they can call in, want to come in on our table talk. Let's talk to them. Let's see how we can guide them, because this is just for our youth in Jamaica and our people in Jamaica in general, not just our youth, our people of Jamaica. And we want to use this platform to see if we can help as many people as we can help,
Right.
and that's
And
just why we
definitely
started
with
this.
the
And yeah, go ahead.
No, see, definitely what Miss
Go
Barbara
ahead,
was
Janelle.
talking about of the lack of opportunities. I think we discussed something very
Yeah.
similar to that. It's like when everyone is doing their best and they're trying to, be at the education and all of that, and there's still no opportunities for them. But I do think we have to be kind of
Mhm.
like looking at it from a different angle too, because we tend to kind of compare the system to the system in the Western countries. And, with Jamaica, it is an island, it is a very small island, and it's not going to have the same resources available that we would have, for example, in the States. So we would definitely like to see a unique opportunity for the young people. A lot of it is going to be entrepreneurship, and a lot of it is going to have to do with agriculture. Whatever the country has in
Mhm.
abundance, that is what we need to capitalize off of. And one of the biggest things is the agricultural part. And the next thing would be like, health, because, look, medicinal, herbs and all of that stuff they have so much resources in Jamaica for that, and natural resources. And I think that that's the biggest thing that we don't, like what Miss Barbara was describing. Yeah, a lot of the young people, they want the cars, they want the clothing, but they don't care about the farming and the being able to grow your crops and all that stuff. That's not a sense of pride, for example. And I think like changing the attitude towards
Yeah.
being
Yes.
in abundance of the island's natural resources, and using that as a way to have income and things like that, that would be great.
So
You know,
true. So
and we
so
need
so
more
true.
people to start pushing these young. Yes, we need more people to start pushing these young folks and give them the credit where they deserve. Because I noticed, as I said, I was talking to Miss Barbara today about an incident that recently happened, where somebody did, a young lady who did something. I won't call names right now. A young lady who did some wonderful work. She's positive. She's a positive person, and sometimes if they don't like what she did, they don't need to make a comment on it. You remember we were talking about that, Miss Barbara? How they made a comment on her on the wall with it, and instead of like uplifting that young lady, just a bad comment put her down. You know what I'm saying? And
Right,
these are
because
the
if
things
the
we're
thing
talking
is not
about
your thing, and that's the thing, if it's not your thing, which everything is not going to be your thing,
yeah.
then just let it be, because maybe this is where this person thrives. And I don't mean to cut in on you, Marlon, but I just want to say that, like, as parents, we sit there and we have all kind of dreams for our kids. We have all kind of ideas of
Mhm.
the traditional fields that they should go into, the traditional profession. They should be a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher. Yeah, yeah. But meanwhile, you have this kid who is a great artist, or like my nephew, who could take a computer and pull it apart and build it back up and make it twice as good as it was before. But you, as the parent, is stuck on, well, you need to be a
Mhm.
lawyer. Then the kid is not interested in being a lawyer, so he flunks at that, or he sits there because he's caught in between. So sometimes we gotta
Yeah.
stop as parents making or kids try to make them live our dream or where we fell short. They're not here to live our dreams for us. Let you have to identify the potential, the area that they are strong in, and build on it and develop on it. Like, not everybody was meant to go sit in a in a college for 4 years. And I mean this in the nicest of ways. I went to college. There are people I went to high school with who did not go to college. One guy I know, he was a carpenter and he has more assets and more resource. He's richer than I am. Let's put it that way. He has way more than I am, and he lives in
Mhm.
Jamaica. So we gotta identify the talents and the skills in our kids, in our youths. So if one child talent is building a website, if the other one's talent is drawing, is an artist. There's a market for it. And like Obama was saying back when he was the president, he would make these speeches when he goes to these universities, and he would say to them, don't just pick a degree. Just don't pick an area of interest. Pick something that you're passionate about and something that's lucrative. So just don't go be a social worker if there's not a demand for social worker, because you're going to sit home on your social work degree. And I'm not saying that social work, I'm just using this as an example. So that's also, where Janella and other young people who can mentor these young
Yeah.
people and like, what are you passionate about? Okay, think about your passion. Is there a market for that passion? Because you don't want to finish college and you can't use that
Mhm.
passion that you have to pay back your student loan or to then, make the transition into the world to become an adult. Or if you didn't go to college, if don't sit there and let people talk you down and say, oh, you didn't go to college. What can you do with your hands? Like Janella
Miss
was saying.
Barbara, I'm going to jump in because I'm going to say something. Miss Barbara, I want to say something, and I want everybody to listen to what I'm saying, please. Now, I'm not proud of it, but I want people to know the truth about me, Marlon Chung. I did not go to college. I did not finish high school. I regret it. Today I do regret it, but yet I use I do not know how to say that word, where there were some people who say street smart. I use my heart and lead the way, and I think I've reached a far way. So sometimes people who think that because they don't have education or they didn't go to school, they can't make it. I found a way to make it in life. I really found a way to make it in life. I do regret it, and I do encourage everybody to go to school, stick in school. Is that some of them cannot. I thought I had a learning disability. I had more than that. I had certain problems in my life where I couldn't concentrate in school. And I'll be honest with you, I'm very embarrassed about it. I am. But the truth, I have to come out and just tell the truth that I am one of those that did not finish college. I did not finish high school, but I made a life for myself. I made a life, and I've had wonderful jobs, guys, wonderful jobs here. You know, I did go back here and did a little thing at Bose's here, which Bose's is one of those. What would you call Bose's again here, guys? I do not know. Miss Barbara, what is Bose's here?
Uh,
Are you
is it
there?
the tech school?
Is it like a second school? It's like a
Yeah,
tech school where you go back
yeah.
and you learn. People don't look at you
Like a
funny.
trade
It's just
school.
that we had to learn. A trade school, it is right. It's like a trade school where I also went there and did my flowers arrangement with my mom. Had a flower
Oh,
store,
nice.
and here, yeah, and I went back there, and guess what? I went and I did that. I never did a career into it because it wasn't my passion at the time. I'm more
Yeah,
like into the garden, right, touching the flowers myself and planting. I end up going and doing, that I learned. I helped my mother a little bit with that, but I wasn't a professional at that. I never took it as a career. I went into other things and did everything from working into a club, becoming a manager, opening my own business. So I've done everything without an education. But let me tell you, guys, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to school. Trust me, I wish if I did. I think I would have been much further today. But I'm doing good, guys. So, there's a lot of people out there thinking because they didn't go to school, they can't make it. And that is
Exactly.
what I'm trying to talk about here. They feel because they didn't go to school and they can't do. Yeah, I learned how to read and write. Yes, I can read, I can write. I'm not the best speller, I'll be honest to you, right? Um, but don't give up. I don't want those people to give up and think that they can't make it. If I can do it, I know they can do it as well too, right?
Absolutely.
I
Right.
just told a big secret
Right.
about myself right there.
And I think
And you did doing amazing
And I
well.
think what it also comes down to is like the material thing. So, for example, I think that just everybody should have a goal of, you need housing, you need food on the table, you need clothing on your back. And I feel like once you find a way to
Yeah,
achieve that, if you're doing like trade jobs, if you're doing construction work, whatever it is that you have, everybody has different gifts, everyone has different skills. So utilize what you're good at and make money off of it. And the degree is,
correct.
or the certificate, whatever you earn is supposed to go along with your skill. It's not supposed to be, oh, if I get a degree, it's gonna guarantee you success. No, there are, like, if you wanted to be a doctor, you have to have those credentials in order to be a doctor. But that doesn't mean that because you have the degree that you're going to automatically be that. You have to have the skill
Right.
sets and the knowledge behind it to be able to actually perform. So I think, like, as it relates to that, that is a big deal. There's a lot of talent,
Correct.
especially in Jamaica. There's a lot of talent, and the focus should be capitalizing on the talent and making that a way forward.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Because there's so much talent in
Yes,
Jamaica.
yes. Yeah,
You see them
correct.
use
You
all
see,
kind of stuff and make cars and trucks like model cars and it blows your mind when you go on social media and see some of the things that these kids create. And this is where the private sector comes in because
yes,
it's not
correct.
all government.
I didn't
They
have. I
need
keep tried.
sponsorship.
Miss
They
Barbara.
need
I
sponsorship.
tried everything. I tried everything.
They
Yeah,
just need a little sponsorship at
they need to
times.
just go out there, keep trying.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I do agree with that
yeah,
because
keep
they're
trying,
super
guys. Just
talented, very
keep
talented.
never stop. Just keep trying till you finally find something you love. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and I
go ahead, Janella.
So go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just going to add to that. I think that just the outlook of it, I think what we hold a lot of value to, the traditional things. Oh, you can run or you can play football and you can sing. And, that's what we
Yeah.
tend to like grow up in the household and we hear those things, so and so got, a new album or this person, we don't talk about the things of, oh, this person just built a house like with his own hands, or he just, created this, or he's great with, retiling floors. Like all of those are very valuable skills. And, we have to just kind of change the mindset behind it. If someone says, yeah, I'm a farmer, coming from Jamaica, you should look at that person like, wow, you're basically, if anything, you're going to be the one to survive because you know how to live off of the land. We don't. So, we just have to start attaching value to the right things, I think.
Yes. That's a great, good point. That it was really, really nice. Because a lot of people look down at the farmer as a lesser person, than the other ones, and it's not right. I do see that.
Yes, definitely. I mean, even for example, if anyone has watched my channel, you'd probably have seen that there's actually, I have a neighbor who is used to be a farmer in Jamaica as well, and he to be able to come over here and know how to work the land, because it's very different, especially here in Florida. Like the soil is so sandy,
Mhm.
and it's completely different soil, completely different environment than in Jamaica. And yet, he's still able to come here. He's able to grow his yam. He's able to grow like everything. And it's just like, for him to be able to teach that skill set to me, as well. After all of these years, I mean, yes, he's worked, in regular jobs and everything, but he's always maintained that, and he's able to pass that skill to me, and I can pass that to others. So that is very valuable. That is way more valuable than, all this other, things that we put so much, appreciation for that can't help us as human beings to survive.
Exactly.
Yes,
Perspective.
yes.
Perspective is everything, Because
You
if
know,
you can
I
think
see
long
that a lot
term.
of. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Barr.
And I
Hmm.
was just adding to what Janella said. It said it's all about perspective. If you can think, I, you know, future, think down the road. If we can grow what we eat, even if we don't
Hmm.
consume all that we grow, then there is a market someplace else for someone else to buy it. You know what I mean? I- I- even for people who never thought about doing farming,
Hmm.
probably now is the time to start thinking about doing farming. There's a lot of arable land all over. Maybe if they just say, let me find out who the owner of this land is. How about you ask
Hmm.
them, can you lease me a small part? I would like to do this. You know, there's so many hotels in Jamaica. It mightn't happen overnight, but maybe if you produce really good stuff and if you beat the pavement a little bit and find out, who is in charge of purchasing and who is in charge of this here or there, maybe you get some orders and it could start
Well,
from
Miss
there.
Barb, I'm sorry. Can I butt in with that one for you? I literally, so I spoke to someone about that before, a farmer from Jamaica, and what they're trying to say is they can't succeed in Jamaica because there's bigger company now doing some bigger farming, and people are buying the products from them because it's cheaper, because they have enough money could sell it for cheaper because it's a bigger company, right? And our small farmers are hurting with that. What can we talk to the people about with that? Because I do see that myself.
Well, I think it also depends on like where their market is, because we can say the same argument
Mhm.
here too for like a lot of the farmer, like when you go to farmers markets and stuff, most of the time people are making a cautious
Mhm.
effort to support their local community. And so if you're trying to go straight for the big fish and say, I want to supply,
Mhm.
you know, the Ryu Hotel, you should probably focus on supplying your local school, just like how we have had the principal on the other day. It could be
Yep.
even as simple as that. Having your
Correct.
farm supply that. It might not be, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. However, you have a steady flow of income that you have, X amount of students. And if they even all each, spend $2 a month, you
Mhm.
know how much you're going to basically be earning off of 90 students, for example.
Agree, because
Yeah.
there are also these restaurants. The one thing Jamaica is not lacking is those little street or little wayside restaurants, tons and tons of them. They don't
Mhm.
have a farm. They don't have a garden in their yard that they use to get the callaloo or the cabbage or the papcha, whatever they cook there, the chicken or whatever. So Janana is right. You can start little. You can start by going down to the little shop in the corner and like, would you like to buy some tomatoes? Sell them at a cheaper rate. You have to start somewhere. It might not in the beginning be very lucrative, but if you realize that
Yeah.
you're doing a small bed of tomatoes and there's a market for it at the little grocery store in the neighborhood, the little shop, then you can go bigger. You increase it. It's all about being driven. Also, you have to be driven, and maybe this is where this
Yeah.
comes in, because some people sometimes you just need to be motivated. You just got to know that someone believes in you and believe in your
Mhm.
ability to do the job or to forge through. So that
So
that could go a far way.
yes. So one of the things when I was in Jamaica that I was looking at, and I was speaking to people down there. I was saying, then why are you guys not raising the chicken like years ago? You used to find a lot of people raising the chicken and selling it back, or planting a lot of tomatoes and things and selling it back. This is what they said to me down there, that the bigger company now is raising the chicken and the layers and things like that, and they cannot sell it back for a certain thing because the cost of the feeding and the things, they have to sell it back at a certain cost. But the bigger company now can sell it back cheaper because they have more money, and it's huge. They sell out, they raise a lot of more chicken, and they can sell it back at a lower cost, and that's why a lot of our farmers in Jamaica and local stores are hurting big time. So you have to understand that they are, what I mean, they have to pay for feeding, which costs a whole lot more. So they have to sell back their stuff at a certain cost because they will be losing. While the bigger company can sell it for a cheaper cost because they have more money and more items to sell. You know? So that's just where a lot of I understand what our local farmers and shopkeepers are talking about. Because remember I was telling you about Natalie, where I told you I met. My uncle is one of them who used to raise chicken, and it's the same thing. He stopped raising it to sell it because nobody wants to buy his chicken because he's selling it at a certain cost. He can't go lower, guys, because they won't make any profit, because the feeding it costs to feed these chicken and things like that. It's, what I mean, it's expensive, and he has to sell back his chicken at a certain cost. And I
And
understand what
then
they're saying, you know. Go ahead, Janelle.
I think just to add to that, like it also goes by your, who your market is, because there's a lot of people who want like organic and, things like that, because a lot of time with the mass production, you're losing the quality. So a lot of those bigger companies that have the
Mhm.
ability to produce all of that and sell it back at a low price, you're paying for that by the getting lower quality, chickens. And so that's one of the biggest things there. That's where the education part does come in, because even if you are, focusing on that, you're farming and stuff like that, elevating your level of understanding of business will definitely play a big role in being able to expand, that. So if you're, you grow up in a household and, your family has all been farmers, and you step out and you take that a step up and start marketing
Yeah,
it to like a lot of natural places, or or even tourism, like a lot of tourist people, they're going to want fresh stuff, and that's the whole point. You come into Jamaica, you want fresh ingredients and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
correct. But you see, they're not supporting our real local people though. They're supporting because they want to make more money. They don't care. To tell you the truth, they don't care if it's organic or not. If they're getting just their money's worth, they want to get. They do try to buy,
Hmm.
like the bigger, like hotels and things will go out because it's tourists, and they know that a lot of the tourists likes the healthier stuff, and they can afford to buy it. But our local Jamaicans can't afford that,
Right.
so they go there. It doesn't matter if it's organic. They're not going to pay for that organic price. They're really not going to pay for it, and they can't afford to buy that to sell it back into a restaurant. Like the cost of sweet pepper today. Look at the cost of sweet pepper. You think if it's organic or not organic, they're going to go for the cheapest cost that they can make money. You
Right.
understand?
Yeah. And I think too, like even with the construction, I mean, I've seen so many people who have been able to build homes and things like that. A lot of it too is pulling together your resources, and the unity, because I think that's a big deal too.
Yeah.
And also just taking away that standard of trying to obtain the things that you see the foreigners have. You did, even like I see some people, oh, I have to have a big car, a big house, and big things. And I'm like, a lot of the things that you see a lot of the Westerners have, they don't own it. They don't own it until after 30, 40, 50 years. And I mean, I know a lot of, Jamaican people who they
Yeah,
are living in their, their family
yeah,
homes that there's paid off for. They have a car that's paid off for. So they're living better than we are because, most of the time we're in debt. So like we don't even own anything yet. So, I think it's just the outlook has
you
to
know,
change.
Absolutely.
yeah, they're living a better life in a way, but you know what? They're not happy. Those farmers are happier than those people,
Exactly.
who's living that kind of big life,
Yep.
because they're not happy. They're not happy. You know. Yeah.
but
Yeah,
it's to
definitely.
get the youths to start thinking
And let me tell you,
along
I
those
listen
lines,
to. But go ahead.
And I said it's to train the minds or to get the youths to start
Yeah.
thinking along those lines that things won't come overnight. And sometimes, you have to use like, some of the richest people in the world and listen to where they started and how long it took them and how hard they worked to get to where they and how many doors were slammed in their faces and how many people said no to them before they had heard a few yeses,
Right.
and so you, you know you have to fight, not literally, but you have to fight to stay alive. You literally have to make somebody notice you, like make sure that you don't go away. Like, when they first said, like, I was asking my boss one time for a raise and
Right.
she was quite dismissive. That this I work for the city marlin, so she was like, there's a budget crisis, they have no money. And I said,
Hmm.
but did you ask? And she's like, I know what they're going to tell me. I said, but why don't you ask first so that they can, and let them tell you before, but do not deter, don't make the decision that they're going to say no. And she's like, why do you think they won't say no? I said, I don't think that they will say yes, nor no, neither do I think that they're going to say no. I just want you to ask. And I was very persistent. She did ask, and they told her that he had to go to the chancellor's review board and blah blah blah. So I said, so let them take it there. So sometimes you have to be
Yeah.
persistent, and it didn't happen immediately, but it did happen eventually. It took a while, but had I stayed silent, it wouldn't have happened at all. So I'm just saying that
Right.
sometimes you got to be persistent. Sometimes you got to let them tired fist your face. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
keep knocking on
Yes.
Right.
the door, keep making your point, keep making your point, keep saying, I can do this, I can
Yeah.
do that, I can do this, I can do that. And just and sometimes, okay, when I do interviews, I remember interviewing this one young lady who came for a job, and she was coming from the bank, TD Bank, and she came, and it's accounts payable, and it's a lot. It's writing on accuracy and yada yada yada. And I told her that our systems are not as sophisticated as the banks, and so you have to do a lot of calculation, which means you have to know your stuff. You're not plugging things into a slot in a program, in a software. And and she just, I can't remember what she said now, but I was at the end of the interview. It was myself and my boss, and we were like ready to be done because she didn't impress me. And she said, she to this day she's still working there. She did not give up, and she said something, I can't remember what it was, but then she said, I'm ready, just show me where to clock in. And the fact that she said that, it
Hmm.
changed everything in my mind about her. And she's still there working really hard,
Wow.
and making a decent wage for herself, just
Yeah.
because she was able to sway me and my boss
Hmm.
by saying that she was ready to do the job, just show her where to clock in. So
Yeah.
sometimes
Wow.
you have to be your own advocate. Like, the government is not going to advocate for you.
Exactly. Right.
Mom's not gonna be there to say how good of a son my
Yeah.
son is, or my daughter, how hard they work. You have to sell yourself. So sometimes we shouldn't use the
Hmm.
same brush to paint everyone. So what you fail at doesn't mean I'm gonna fail at it. Or what when you don't get a yes doesn't mean I'm gonna get a no also. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Know that
Yes.
there are challenges
Exactly.
to overcome. And I do know, but sometimes it's all about like the interviewing process, like I said. You will come there, you probably have three advanced degrees, and somebody with just one or none was able to sit there and convince you in the interview to give them the job. They might show up and want to cut you, well, you cut your own lawn, but want to fix your pipe. And you're like, well, I have a licensed plumber I use. And this person's like, well, I was licensed in Jamaica for 30 years. I can tell you, I can fix this in 5 minutes. And by the time he was done talking to you, you were sold. And truth be told, the person was awesome because you let them in and let them do the job. And so sometimes people, it's how you market yourself. Sometimes it's not even the
Yeah.
paper credentials as much as how you market yourself or your goods or your service, whatever.
Mhm.
So again, people
Exactly.
sometimes need that encouragement. They need that mentorship, and for other people to
That's
to
Yes.
to see their story or hear other people's story and say, "I see you, me myself in you," or
right.
and it's
Exactly.
always like it's always important to tell people
Mhm.
your story. If you were a teenage mom, like you see how you come out and just say something about how you didn't finish school, you don't know who you're encouraging because some people already have that block that I'm not good enough. You know how many adults,
Right.
older adults, young adults, and even little kids are sitting there saying, I'm not good enough because they hear this from their own parents. You know how many
Yep.
Jamaican parents speak negatively into their kids' consciousness? They literally will tell you that
Exactly. Yeah.
duns. Or my dad say I'm not gonna amount to anything. I once heard a gentleman say, well, I'll stop playing child support because this one ain't going to
Yeah.
college. And I was like, why would you say that? It was here in the US, but I'm like, why would you say that? So you're
No.
saying your child's not good enough to go to college just because you don't want to pay child support? And he looked at me and like he was like, how dare you say that? But how dare you say that to me? Because you just done strike that child's future down.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So a
Mhm.
lot of times people
Wow.
need to know that they have worth, that I'm valuable. I am somebody. I could be somebody. I could do some things. If you haven't finished
Yeah.
college, if you haven't finished high school, you can go back. You can
Yeah.
try again. You can try again. There were girls who went to high school with me who got pregnant early and they didn't have the support to go back and finish. But some of them find their wins
And
afterwards.
don't feel. Yeah.
Go ahead, Marlon.
Yes. Do you know who Trishan
And I
Bailey
think,
is? Have you ever heard of Trishan Bailey?
I mean, the
I'm
two names
sorry.
mm,
are not uncommon, but I'm not sure if I know exactly who.
Do
no.
you all know who Trishan Bailey is?
No, I don't think I do.
You gotta look her up. Her name is Trishan Bailey, and I'm. Let me tell you, she a wonderful story. And guys, you have to see where this young lady's coming from Jamaica. Okay, she is the richest Jamaican woman out there that lives here in Connecticut. And she's the richest Jamaican. She's one of the richest women you can find out there today too.
I know who she is
And
now. I just
look at
read an
her story,
article
how she
about her.
started. You know,
Yeah.
I'm so proud that she's Jamaican. You know what I mean? I'm so, yes, yes. And it's a girl
She's
who
from Saint
saved her
Elizabeth. I
money,
remember her now.
all her lunch money from exactly. You got to watch it. I say, you know what I mean, just to see what she has done. And I hope other women would look at her, young girls would watch her, and what I mean, and do the same. With just a dream and made it so big. And I'm very proud of her, man. Very, very proud of her. You know, let me tell you, it's people like that pushes me to do better. Literally push me to do better. That if she came here with nothing, why can't I try to do something? you know what I mean, and do better. I don't stop trying, guys. I try singing. I know it wasn't for me, you know. I mean, I try every single thing until I end up, doing the thing that I really love, I really enjoy of taking care of elderly people, and that's what I end up doing almost in my life. So I end up with something that I was passionate about was talking. And I've tried everything, guys. I tried everything. I used to sing in that shower, turn that water off, and I was like, "There's no way on earth I could become a singer."
Well, we know you're a dancer, and we know you have a heart of gold, and you're definitely, you know,
you know,
a caring person who
I
really
just
goes
want,
out there.
basically, I want Miss Barbara. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said no. You're definitely a dancer, and you have a heart of gold, and you go out there trying to save the world one person or a
It's
couple
it.
persons at a time. So you're living your dream. You're a helper. You're a person who wants to give back, and you're passionate about it, and it's working for you, and so everybody's path in life is not the same, and that's what's important to know, that people should not classify themselves, or or group themselves with other people. Oh, she went to that school and she amounted to nothing, so I or she got no. You have to walk your own path, and that's what's important, that parents do not make the kid or the children feel like they're failures because they didn't
Yes.
succeed the
Yes.
first time,
Yes.
or they didn't do well the first time. you know, we have to keep encouraging them. We have to keep encouraging. And the more they can see people like
Correct.
Janella, who's, young and trying
Correct.
to hold, do it well, and hold it together. Wh- in life, mentoring is always the thing that gets people. If you were born in a shack and raised in a shack, and in the hood, so there's if you talk to these kids, there's always somebody or something that they hold on to in order to get out of that living situation. I have a cousin, and she was like, we never had shoe, and she was like,
Hmm.
I said I'll never be poor again. And she was, what she was good at, she was smart, and she realized, and she was told when from she was young, that if you go to school and work hard, you can be poverty. And she did it. She held on to that. She's like, I have to own a house. She graduated with double degree, kuma some lad, and she went to Capital and interned there. She just kept pushing. I don't know where she find the impetus, where she
Yeah.
gets the strength, and she just keep pushing herself and she believed in herself, but she also worked hard, really hard. She was wearing Payless flip flop and Payless shoes until she could get to where, and I'm so proud of her today, because right not too long out of college, she bought her own house, she bought her car cash, she was focused. So sometimes poverty helps people to achieve, because they say, I don't want to
Yeah.
grow up the way, I don't want to raise kids in that situation, I want a better life. So it's all about perspective and drive and ambition, and not wanting to repeat, the kind of life that your parents live or your grandparents
Yeah.
live. You want to do better. So you take what little you have, especially if you have a talent, and I do believe every single one of us is good at something.
Something.
But you
That's
have
true.
to identify what that thing is
Hmm.
and harness it, and
Yeah.
and work on it. Yep.
Oh,
I
that's interesting.
remember that. I love you very much. May your soul rest in peace. But I remember my daddy used to say to me, "You have to be a Croft." Well, I turned out and I did it for Marlon. I didn't do it for him. I did it for me, where I was happy to till the last day of him leaving us. You know, and I did it, and I did not rub it in his face back. I did it, but I was the one here, and I'm not taking the credit. We done. All of us did things in our life, but I was the one there when he said those words to me. I never would forget it. And here it is, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
And like I said,
That's
it's just
another talk we're going to do in the table talk. Janella Faye asked me to interview me, and I'm
yeah,
going to be telling out some happened. And it's good that these young people know that they're not the only one. They think because of the color of my skin, they hear the name Chong, that I have lived a life of luxury, so on and so forth. No, guys, they finally one day soon, you guys gonna hear the real talk here. To call you guys where I am coming from, and the road that I took, and where
Interesting.
today with Janella Faye, you'll be hearing that one day very soon. You know,
yes,
I'm sorry
definitely.
about that. Go ahead, guys. I just had to let that one thing.
But yeah, I think too, it just goes back to, that seed that you project, for the children at a young age. And then being able to understand, like, the way that you as a parent are going to, attach certain types of, um, positive reinforcement to certain things. That's what's going to happen. That child is going to gravitate to that. So if you're always, supporting, music and football and, just the stereotypical things, that's what they're going to go and strive for. But, if you're prioritizing and giving praises when, children come up with something, or, maybe they came up with an idea or whatever it is, you have to, harvest that. So, you definitely want to make sure that it's starting from the little children, and it's continuous throughout those developmental years. So
Mhm.
they have, it's just becomes normal. Like, yes, I specialize in agriculture, where you wear that with a badge of honor, or, I specialize in construction, or whatever it is, the things that actually are, more in abundance on the island. I feel like that's the biggest thing. And even tourism, a lot of that tourism sector, a lot of young Jamaicans are not really capitalizing on that as well. You'd be
Mhm.
surprised if you could be growing up on a farm and have a very small place, and there's a lot of people that would love to use that as an Airbnb, for example, because they want to have the real
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Cool.
I
Yeah,
know.
Yeah.
I know. So much
definitely.
potential.
I'm
But
trying this
yeah,
StreamYard thing.
well,
If
definitely
we
thank you all
have to
for
do something
tuning
the next
in.
time, because right now
Yeah, thank you all for
yeah,
tuning
it was
in, and
pretty
I
low,
hope that you
pretty low.
guys,
Yes.
I
It's
hope you
okay.
all will be able to watch our future ones. And it was very nice having Miss Barbara on and to discuss, these topics. So we can't wait to get into more. This is our first one. So, it's only up from here. So definitely subscribe if you haven't already, and please share it out to others as well. And if you are interested in joining in on any of our future discussions, definitely leave a comment, let us know. And yeah, we can't wait to make this a continuous discussion.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was very enlightening, and
You're more than welcome, Miss Barbara.
thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.